The village had been waiting for Prince Obinna Ikenna. For years, the young prince had lived abroad, building his education, expanding his business knowledge, and enjoying the kind of luxurious life that ordinary villagers could only watch in movies. But now, he was finally coming home. Obinna smiled. This place hasn't changed. The driver glanced at him through the mirror. Your Highness, you haven't been here in many years. Obinna nodded. Too many. He leaned closer to the window. Then something caught his attention. A group of children were chasing one another beside a berry tree. Obinna smiled. Suddenly, memories from his childhood came rushing back. He remembered himself as a little boy, running through the same forests with his friends. They used to sneak away from their parents. They would enter the forest carrying small baskets. Their mission was always the same: find berries, eat as many as possible, return home before anyone noticed. When he returned home, his mother immediately looked at him. Obinna. Young Obinna had frozen. Yes, Mama? Where have you been? Playing. Playing where? Everywhere. His mother had noticed the purple stains around his mouth. What did you eat? Nothing. Then why is your mouth purple? He had immediately blamed his friend, Shinadu. His mother had laughed. Did Shinadu also stain your lips? Obinna smiled at the memory. He had been a terrible liar, but an excellent berry thief. The SUV continued moving. Then Obinna saw something. Far ahead, beyond a bend in the road, stood several trees covered with ripe berries. His eyes widened. He sat upright. Stop. The driver looked surprised. Your Highness? Stop the car. The driver immediately stepped on the brakes. The convoy behind them stopped too. For several seconds, everyone remained silent. One guard leaned forward. Why did we stop? Another guard shrugged. Maybe there is danger. The first guard looked around. There is no danger. Then he saw Obinna stepping out of the SUV. The driver quickly opened the door. Your Highness, is there a problem? Obinna pointed toward the forest. I saw berries. The driver blinked. The berries? Yes. Are you hungry? Obinna smiled. No. The driver looked confused. Then why did we stop? I want to pick some. The driver stared at him. One of the senior bodyguards approached. Your Highness, you want us to pick them for you? No. We can send 2 guards. No. The driver? No. The bodyguard looked confused. Then who? Obinna smiled. Me. The bodyguard stared at him as though the prince had just announced that he wanted to wrestle a crocodile. I used to come here when I was a child. His expression softened. I want to experience it again. The bodyguard's face became serious. We will accompany you. Obinna nodded. Fine. Obinna entered the forest, with 4 bodyguards following closely behind. They eventually reached the berry trees. Obinna looked up. The branches were filled with beautiful, ripe berries. His face lit up. This is exactly how I remember it. He reached for a branch and began picking. One guard stood beside him. Your Highness, allow me. Obinna shook his head. No, he reached for another berry. I want to do it myself. He placed one in his mouth. His eyes widened. Still delicious. The bodyguard smiled. One of them picked a berry. Can I try? Obinna nodded. The guard tasted it. Not bad. Not bad? Obinna laughed. This berry deserves respect. Another guard reached for one. Suddenly, screech! Everyone froze. Obinna slowly looked upward. A monkey sat on a branch above them. The monkey stared directly at him. Obinna stared back. The bodyguards became alert. One whispered, Your Highness. Obinna didn't respond. The monkey moved closer. Obinna took one small step backward. The monkey jumped to another branch. Another monkey appeared. Then another. Obinna's smile disappeared. How many are there? The bodyguard looked around. Your Highness. What? I think we have a problem. One monkey suddenly screamed. Obinna dropped the berries. Run! The prince ran. The bodyguards ran. The monkeys chased them. Protect the prince. Protect yourself first. Don't leave me. Your Highness, you're running faster than us. Obinna didn't answer. His royal dignity had completely disappeared. He was running through the forest like a village boy who had just stolen someone's food. One bodyguard tripped over a root. Help me. Another pulled him up. Get up. The monkey jumped onto a branch directly above them. The guards screamed. Obina shouted, "Why did I stop for berries?" One guard yelled back, "You were the one who wanted childhood memories. I have remembered enough." They continued running. Then suddenly, a young woman appeared ahead of them. She was carrying firewood. Beside her walked an elderly woman carrying another bundle. The young woman stopped. She was Nkechi, a beautiful 20-year-old Nigerian girl with smooth caramel skin. She wore a simple traditional wrapper and blouse, with small beads around her wrist. Her appearance was simple, but her beauty was striking. She stared at the approaching men, a prince, 4 bodyguards, and several screaming monkeys. Nkechi blinked. Again? Her grandmother looked at her. "What?" Nkechi pointed. "Trouble." Her grandmother squinted. "I don't see trouble." Nkechi smiled. "The trouble is running toward us." Obina reached them first. He was breathing heavily. He looked behind him. The monkeys were still coming. Then he looked at Nkechi. "Please." Nkechi raised an eyebrow. "Please what?" "Help us." She looked at the monkeys. Then she looked at Obina. Then back at the monkeys. She calmly stepped forward. "Stop." The monkeys stopped immediately. Obina froze. The bodyguards froze. The forest became completely silent. "You have chased them enough. Go back." The monkeys obeyed. One climbed a tree. Another followed. Then another disappeared into the branches. Obina stared at Nkechi. His breathing had finally slowed, but his heart was beating faster, for an entirely different reason. He looked at her beautiful face. Her smooth caramel skin glowed beneath the filtered sunlight. Her natural curls were tied into a neat bun. Her eyes were calm. She wasn't frightened. She wasn't impressed by the expensive clothes. She wasn't even impressed by the prince. She had simply stopped the monkeys. Obina swallowed. "Did you just command them?" Nkechi shrugged. "They listened to me." One bodyguard whispered, "Your Highness, I think we have found the real security officer." Obina almost laughed. Nkechi looked at him. "Are you all right?" Obina nodded. "Yes." She looked at his muddy clothes. "Are you sure?" He looked down. His expensive trousers were covered in dirt. One shoe was filled with mud. A leaf was stuck to his shirt. He quickly removed it. "I'm fine." Nkechi smiled. "You don't look fine." One of the bodyguards couldn't hold his laughter. Obina turned sharply. "Do not laugh." The guard immediately looked away. Nkechi laughed softly. For a moment, he forgot everything. The forest, the monkeys, the guards, the convoy. He only saw her. "What's your name?" he asked. "Nkechi." "Nkechi." He repeated her name. She smiled. "And yours?" Obina hesitated. He wasn't used to introducing himself, but he wanted to hear her say his name. "Obina." Nkechi turned toward him. "Goodbye, Prince Obina." Obina smiled. "Goodbye, Nkechi." She walked away with her grandmother. Obina remained standing there. He watched her disappear into the trees. His bodyguard approached. "Your Highness." Obina didn't answer. "Your Highness?" "We should return to the palace." Obina finally turned. "Yes." The bodyguard hesitated. "And perhaps we should leave before the monkeys change their minds." Obina laughed. As he walked back toward the convoy, he looked over his shoulder one last time. The forest was quiet. Nkechi was gone. But somehow, Obina felt as though he had just found something he had been searching for without knowing it. When he entered the SUV, the driver looked at him through the mirror. "Your Highness, did you enjoy your berries?" Obina smiled. "I enjoyed something else." The driver raised an eyebrow. "What?" Obina looked out of the window. "Nkechi." The driver nearly turned around. "Who?" Obina smiled. "Drive." The convoy started moving toward the palace, but this time, the prince wasn't thinking about his businesses. He wasn't thinking about his return from abroad. He wasn't thinking about royal duties. He was thinking about a beautiful village girl who could command monkeys. And somewhere deep inside his heart, a dangerous little feeling had already begun to grow. Obina wanted to see Nkechi again, and he had no idea yet that the girl he had met in the forest was about to change his entire life. By the time Prince Obina returned to the palace, the entire royal compound was already buzzing with excitement. Drums were beating, women were singing, children were dancing around the palace courtyard. Elders had gathered to welcome their prince home. The massive palace stood proudly at the heart of the village, surrounded by tall walls decorated with traditional Igbo motifs. Carved wooden pillars supported the entrance, while colorful fabrics, bronze ornaments, and royal symbols decorated the courtyard. The palace was not simply a house. It was the heart of the kingdom. And today, everyone wanted to see the prince who had returned from abroad. As Obina's convoy entered the palace grounds, the crowd erupted. "Welcome home, Prince Obina. Welcome, our prince. Long live the prince." Obina stepped out of the SUV. He smiled and waved. But something was different. His clothes were slightly dirty. His expensive shoes were covered in mud, and there was still a tiny leaf stuck to the back of his shirt. One of the palace servants noticed it. Another servant whispered, "Did the prince fight a bush?" The other replied, "I don't know, but the bush appears to have won." They quickly looked away when Obina glanced in their direction. Obina walked toward the palace entrance. His father, King Ikenna, was waiting for him. The king was a dignified man in his late 50s, with dark brown skin, a strong face, and a commanding presence. He wore a richly embroidered isiagu, a traditional red cap decorated with coral beads, and a long strand of royal coral around his neck. Beside him stood Queen Adaku, Obina's mother. She wore an elegant royal wrapper and blouse, decorated with intricate Igbo patterns. Coral beads covered her neck and wrists, while a beautifully tied headpiece completed her appearance. The king smiled proudly. "My son." Obina bowed respectfully. "Father." The king embraced him. "Welcome home." Queen Adaku hugged him next. "My child." "Mother." She pulled away and examined him. Then she frowned. "What happened to your clothes?" Obina looked down. "Nothing." The queen raised an eyebrow. "Nothing?" "Yes, your shoes are covered in mud. I went for a walk." "A walk?" "Yes, through a swamp?" Obina smiled. "Something like that." The king looked at him suspiciously. "You were supposed to come straight to the palace." "I did. After walking through the forest?" Obina became quiet. The king laughed. "You haven't changed." The royal family entered the palace, but while everyone celebrated around him, Obina's mind was somewhere else. In the forest, with Nkechi. He remembered her smile, her beautiful eyes, the sound of her laughter, and most of all, the way she had simply raised her voice and commanded the monkeys to stop. Obina smiled without realizing it. Queen Adaku noticed. She looked at her husband. "Why is our son smiling at the wall?" The king shrugged. Perhaps the wall said something funny. Obina quickly composed himself. "I'm fine." His mother studied him. That made Obina nervous. He knew his mother. When Queen Adaku said she had already started investigating. That night, Obina entered his bedroom. It was enormous. A large king-sized bed stood in the center. The walls were decorated with elegant traditional artwork. A balcony overlooked the palace gardens. A massive chandelier hung from the ceiling. Everything was luxurious. Everything was perfect. Yet Obina couldn't sleep. He sat on the edge of the bed. He leaned backward. Then he smiled. Nkechi. He had only known her for a short time, yet her name already felt strangely familiar. He picked up his phone. He opened his messages. He closed them. He opened his contacts. He had no number. He sighed. "What am I doing?" He threw himself onto the bed. Then he remembered something. The way she had laughed when he claimed he wasn't afraid of the monkeys. He laughed to himself. She actually called me scared. A prince, a billionaire, a man who had negotiated million-dollar deals, a man who had faced international businessmen without blinking, and a village girl had looked him in the face and said, "You were running." Obina smiled. She is something else. He closed his eyes, but the moment he did, he saw her again. He opened them. Ah, he sat up. This is becoming a problem. He walked to the balcony. The moon was shining over the village. Somewhere beyond the palace walls was the forest, and somewhere inside that forest was Nkechi. Obina leaned against the railing. I need to see her again. He paused, then smiled. The following morning, Obinna joined his parents for breakfast. The royal dining room was beautifully decorated with traditional art and polished wooden furniture. Breakfast had already been served. There were fruits, yam, eggs, vegetables, bread, and several traditional dishes. Obinna sat down. His mother smiled. "Good morning, my son." "Good morning, mother." The king looked at him. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes." Queen Adaku looked at him suspiciously. "Really?" Obinna nodded. "Very well. Interesting." Obinna continued eating. His mother watched him. The king watched him. Obinna looked from one parent to the other. "What?" The queen smiled. "Nothing." He returned to his food. The king suddenly cleared his throat. "My son." Obinna looked up. "Yes, father." "You are 30 years old." Obinna nodded. "I know." "You are a billionaire." "I know." "You are a prince." "I am aware." "You have businesses in several countries." "Yes." The king leaned forward. "And you are unmarried." Obinna paused. He knew where this conversation was going. "Father," the king raised his hand. "No excuses." Queen Adaku smiled. "Your father and I have been discussing this." Obinna sighed. "I knew it." The king laughed. "What did you expect?" Obinna continued eating. The king said, "You are old enough to have a wife." Obinna nearly choked on his drink. "Father." "What? You make it sound as if I am 80." The queen laughed. The king shook his head. 30 is not young anymore. Obinna stared at him. "Father, please." Queen Adaku leaned forward. "We want you to choose a wife." Obinna became quiet. The king continued, "According to our royal tradition, we will organize a grand celebration." Obinna listened carefully. "Young women from the village will gather." The queen smiled. "They will dance before the royal family. The prince will watch," the king continued, "and choose the woman he believes is suitable to become his wife." Obinna's hands stopped moving. Nkechi immediately came to his mind. He imagined her standing among the dancers. He frowned. The queen noticed. "What is it?" "Nothing." The king looked at him. "Do you already have someone?" Obinna almost dropped his spoon. "No." His parents exchanged a glance. The king smiled. "That was a very fast answer, because there is nobody." There it was again, that royal Obinna knew he was in trouble. That afternoon, Obinna couldn't concentrate. He tried to review business documents. He failed. He tried to make a phone call. He ended up staring out the window. His assistant asked, "Your Highness, should I reschedule the meeting?" Obinna nodded. "Yes." "Why?" "I have somewhere to go." "Where?" Obinna stood. "The forest." The assistant blinked. "The forest?" "Yes." "Why?" Obinna looked at him. "Do you need an official report?" The assistant immediately shook his head. "No, Your Highness." "Good." Obinna left the palace. This time he went without the convoy. He wore a simple traditional shirt and trousers. He wanted to see Nkechi without royal attention following him. He entered the forest. The atmosphere was peaceful. Birds sang. Leaves moved gently in the breeze. He walked toward the berry trees. He looked around. Nothing. "Nkechi." Silence. He walked farther. Still nothing. He smiled nervously. Maybe she isn't here. Then, a monkey appeared. Obinna froze. The monkey stared at him. Obinna stared back. No. The monkey moved closer. Obinna stepped backward. "Listen." The monkey tilted its head. "I came peacefully." The monkey screamed. Obinna jumped. "Don't start." He turned around to run. Then he heard laughter. "Are you running again?" Obinna stopped. He slowly turned. There she was, Nkechi, standing behind him, smiling. Obinna placed his hands on his waist. "I wasn't running." Nkechi laughed. "You were about to." "I was checking my surroundings." "With your legs?" Obinna laughed. "You enjoy embarrassing me." "Maybe." He looked at her. For a moment they simply smiled at each other. Then Nkechi asked, "What are you doing here?" Obinna answered honestly, "I came to see you." Her smile disappeared for a second. She looked shy. "Me?" "Yes." "Why?" "I don't know." She raised an eyebrow. "You don't know?" "I just wanted to see you." Nkechi looked away. They walked together. Nkechi was gathering firewood. Obinna picked up a heavy branch. She looked at him. You really want to help? Yes, you don't have to. I know. She smiled. You're different from what I expected. They continued walking. Then Obinna stopped. Nkechi, I need to tell you something. She turned toward him. I am not just a man from the palace. She looked confused. What do you mean? I am the prince. Her eyes widened. You are really Prince Obinna? He nodded. Nkechi stared at him. For the first time she looked nervous. So you are the prince everyone has been talking about? Yes. She shook her head. I thought you were just what? Just a strange man who likes berries. Obinna burst into laughter. I am still that man, she smiled, but then she became serious. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted you to meet me as Obinna. Nkechi looked at him. Not as a prince, not as a billionaire, just Obinna. Something warmed inside her. After they finished gathering firewood, Obinna looked at her. Can I walk you home? Nkechi hesitated. Why? I want to know where you live. You don't need to. I want to. She smiled. Fine. They walked together. On the village road, two young women appeared. They were talking until they saw Nkechi. Then they saw the man beside her. One girl stopped. Wait, she stared. Isn't that? The other girl looked closely. Her eyes widened. Prince Obinna? They immediately began whispering. The prince is with Nkechi. Why? Maybe he is lost, or maybe the monkey girl has bewitched him. They giggled. Nkechi heard them. Her smile disappeared. Obinna noticed. He looked toward the girls. They immediately became quiet. He continued walking. He didn't care what anyone thought. Eventually, they reached a modest house at the edge of the village. The house was simple but clean. Nkechi opened the gate. Grandmother! Her grandmother came outside. Then she saw Obinna. Her eyes widened. My prince! Obinna smiled respectfully. Good afternoon, Grandma. She bowed slightly. Welcome, Your Highness. Please don't call me that. The old woman smiled. So the prince has come to visit my granddaughter. Nkechi's face became red. Grandmother! The old woman laughed. What? Obinna smiled. I just wanted to make sure they arrived safely. The grandmother looked at him carefully. Of course. Then she looked at Nkechi, then back at Obinna. A mischievous smile appeared on her face. You are welcome any time. Nkechi covered her face. Grandmother! Obinna laughed. After a short conversation, he finally left. As he walked away, he looked back. Nkechi was still standing at the doorway. Their eyes met. She smiled. He smiled back. But neither of them knew that several villagers had already seen him at Nkechi's house. And by sunset, the entire village had a new topic of discussion. The prince was interested in the monkey girl. That evening, several young women gathered together. One of them slammed her hand on the table. This is impossible. Another frowned. The prince cannot choose Nkechi. Why not? Because she is the monkey girl. Another girl laughed. Exactly, she belongs in the forest. They continued talking, but one girl remained silent. Her name was Amarachi. She was beautiful, confident, and considered one of the strongest candidates for the prince's future wife. She had already imagined herself sitting beside Obinna on the royal throne. Now she had heard that the prince was visiting Nkechi. Her jealousy burned. I will not allow that girl to become princess. The others looked at her. What will you do? Amarachi smiled coldly. The dancing ceremony is coming. She folded her arms. Let's see how far the monkey girl can go without knowing how to dance. The girls laughed. Meanwhile, somewhere in the palace, Obinna sat alone. He thought about Nkechi. He remembered her smile, her laughter, her courage. He didn't know what the future held. But one thing was certain. He was no longer interested in choosing a wife simply because tradition demanded it. His heart had already chosen someone, and that someone was the girl everyone else called the monkey girl. The announcement finally came. The royal drums sounded throughout the village. A palace messenger declared, by order of His Royal Majesty, all eligible young women of the village are invited to the royal dancing ceremony. The prince shall choose his future wife. Excitement spread everywhere. Young women practiced day and night. They bought beautiful wrappers. They braided their hair. They practiced traditional dance steps. Some even hired experienced dancers. But Nkechi stayed away. When she tried to join the other girls, they laughed. "Don't think the prince will choose you," another girl sneered. "Go back to your monkeys. You don't even know how to dance." Nkechi quietly walked away. A few days later, Obinna visited her. "Will you come to the ceremony?" She shook her head. "I don't know how to dance. I don't care. But the tradition says, I want you there." She looked into his eyes. "Why?" Obinna stepped closer. "Because when I look around a crowded room, you are the person I search for." Nkechi's heart raced. He continued softly, "And when you are not there, the whole place feels empty." Nkechi looked away. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why?" "Because you make me believe them." Obinna smiled. "Believe me." She finally agreed. The ceremony began. The palace courtyard was magnificent. The king and queen sat on the royal throne. Elders sat beneath decorated canopies. Drummers played traditional ego rhythms. The women wore colorful wrappers, coral beads, and elaborate traditional hairstyles. The young women danced one after another. The crowd cheered. But Obinna remained unimpressed. His eyes kept searching. Where was Nkechi? The final dancer finished. The drums stopped. Everyone waited. The king looked at his son. "Obinna, choose." Obinna stood. The young women immediately straightened. Some adjusted their wrappers. Others smiled. One woman whispered, "He is coming toward me." Another quickly pushed her forward. But Obinna walked past them. He continued walking until he reached the corner. Nkechi stood there quietly. Their eyes met. Obinna smiled. He extended his hand. Nkechi looked confused. "What are you doing?" "I'm choosing my wife." Her eyes widened. "Me?" "Yes." "But I didn't dance." "I know." "Then why?" Obinna looked at her intensely. "Because you're special to me." The courtyard erupted. Gasps, whispers, angry murmurs. The king's face hardened. The queen stood. "Obinna!" He brought Nkechi before his parents. "I have chosen her." The queen shook her head. "Our tradition requires the prince to choose among the dancers. I have chosen Nkechi." "But she did not dance," the crowd shouted. "Monkey girl! She can't be the princess. She doesn't deserve the crown." Nkechi's eyes filled with tears. One girl laughed. "Imagine the prince marrying the monkey girl." Nkechi couldn't take it anymore. She ran outside. Her grandmother followed. At the palace gate, Nkechi cried, "Grandmother, they hate me." Her grandmother held her. "They fear what they don't understand." Then she opened a small old bag. Inside was a beautifully preserved traditional dress. It was colorful, elegant, and decorated with intricate patterns. Nkechi stared at it. "Whose dress is this?" "Your mother's." Nkechi became silent. "Your mother wore this when she was your age." Her grandmother smiled. "She was the finest dancer in this village." Nkechi touched the fabric. "Grandmother, your mother taught me that a woman should never hide her gift, because people laugh at her." She handed Nkechi the dress. "Go inside. Grandmother, show them who you are." Nkechi hugged her. "Thank you." She changed. When she returned to the palace, the crowd went silent. She looked completely transformed. Her traditional dress flowed gracefully around her. Her natural curly hair remained tied in a beautiful bun. Traditional beads decorated her neck and wrists. She walked with confidence. The girls who had mocked her stared. "Why is she so confident? Where did she get that dress?" Obinna couldn't take his eyes off her. He smiled. Nkechi stepped into the center. She looked toward the drummer. "Beat the drums." The drums began. Boom, boom, boom. Nkechi moved. Then she danced. Her movements were graceful, powerful, joyful, and perfectly synchronized with the rhythm. The entire courtyard fell silent. Then the crowd erupted. "Wow!" The king leaned forward. The queen stared in disbelief. Even the elders nodded in admiration. Nkechi danced as though she had been born for that exact moment. Obinna's eyes sparkled. He whispered, "So this is the woman who told me she couldn't dance." When she finished, thunderous applause filled the palace. The king stood. Nkechi, she bowed respectfully. You have proven yourself. The queen looked at her, then at Obinna. Finally she smiled. The tradition has been fulfilled. Obinna immediately approached Nkechi. He embraced her. He whispered into her ear, "You told me you couldn't dance." Nkechi laughed. "All thanks to my grandmother." Obinna smiled. Then two jealous girls approached. One crossed her arms. "Who taught you how to dance?" Nkechi smiled innocently. "The monkeys." Silence. Then Obinna burst into laughter. The king laughed. The queen covered her mouth. Even the elders laughed. The entire courtyard erupted. One of the girls looked furious. "The monkeys?" Nkechi nodded seriously. "They are very good teachers." The king finally rose from his throne. "Let it be known before the elders, the royal family, and the people of this kingdom that Prince Obinna has chosen Nkechi." The royal drums sounded. The crowd cheered. Nkechi's grandmother cried tears of joy. Obinna took Nkechi's hand. He looked into her eyes. "From the moment I saw you in the forest, I knew there was something different about you." Nkechi smiled. "You only saw me because monkeys were chasing you." Obinna laughed. "That is one detail we don't need to mention. You were screaming. I was strategically retreating. You were running. I was protecting my security team." Nkechi laughed. The crowd laughed with them. But beneath the humor was something deeper. Obinna had fallen completely for her. He admired her courage, her kindness, her humility, her mysterious connection with nature. And most importantly, she made him feel like Obinna, not merely the prince. As the celebration continued, Obinna took her somewhere quiet inside the palace garden. The sounds of drums and celebration echoed in the distance. He held her hands. "Nkechi, yes? I know this will not be easy." She looked at him. "Your family may not accept me. They will. The villagers may continue calling me the monkey girl." Obinna smiled. "Then let them." She looked surprised. He stepped closer. "I don't want a woman everyone else chooses for me." His voice became softer. "I want the woman my heart chose." Nkechi's eyes became emotional. "And your heart chose me? From the forest." She smiled. "The same forest where you were running from monkeys?" "Yes," she laughed. Obinna gently held her face. "Do you know what happened when I first saw you?" "What?" "My heart forgot I was a prince." Nkechi looked into his eyes. "And what did it remember?" "That I was just a man who had finally found the woman he wanted." Nkechi's cheeks turned pink. She rested her head against his chest. For a moment, there was no palace, no tradition, no jealous villagers, no royal pressure. Only the two of them. Then a monkey suddenly screamed from a nearby tree. Nkechi looked up. Obinna froze. She laughed. "Don't tell me you're afraid again." "I am not afraid." The monkey screamed again. Obinna moved closer to her. Nkechi laughed. "You are hiding behind me." "I am standing strategically close to my future wife." She burst into laughter. From the balcony, the king and queen watched them. The queen smiled. "The girl has brought happiness back to him." The king nodded. "Perhaps the forest sent her." Meanwhile, the jealous girls stood among the crowd, watching Obinna and Nkechi together. One clenched her fists. How did the monkey girl win? Another sighed bitterly. She didn't win. Then what happened? The first girl looked toward the palace. The prince's heart was never ours to begin with. The royal drums continued. The village celebrated deep into the night. The girl they had called the monkey girl was now the future princess. And the prince who had stopped his royal convoy just to pick berries had discovered something far more valuable in the forest. Love. Not the love money could buy, not the love royal power could command, but the kind of love that found him unexpectedly beneath a berry tree while he was running for his life from monkeys. And as Obinna looked at Nkechi, he smiled. "Are you ready to become a princess?" Nkechi looked at him mischievously. "Only if you promise never to run from monkeys again." Obinna laughed. "I make no promises." She smiled. "Then I may have to train them to chase you again." Obinna stared at her. "You wouldn't dare." A monkey screamed from the tree. Nkechi smiled. Obinna immediately stepped behind her. The entire royal courtyard erupted in laughter. And that was how the prince found his princess. Not in a royal ballroom, but in the forest, beside a tree full of berries, with monkeys chasing him. If you enjoy the love story between Prince Obinna and Nkechi, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.